Hi, it's Jenny Phillips, and I wanted to create a video to talk about the background of The Good and the Beautiful, how it came to be, what it's all about, and answer some questions that some people are having right now about the curriculum. I think it will be helpful to give you some background to my passion of why I created this and how I hope that it's helpful to people. I actually never decided that I was going to create a curriculum company. I'm a singer and a songwriter and mainly a mom and a homeschool mom, and very passionate about homeschooling. The first thing that happened is that I realized that the books that my children were reading, I had a daughter who had an attitude that I could not figure out where it was coming from. She would roll her eyes at me, and she wasn't interested in any good learning or poetry or anything. And I just wasn't happy with how her character was being shaped, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, we were a good family, and we study the Bible together, and we pray together, and teach her, and we're a loving family. We're not perfect, but we're loving with our children and spend time with them. And I'm like, where is this attitude coming from? And one day I was in her bedroom, and I went to close a book, and I came across these words that said, "Sometimes I wonder if my mom is brain dead, and other times I am sure of it." And I was like, what? And I started reading all of these books that she had, and they were the books that everybody was reading, and they were the bestsellers, and I just didn't realize that she was reading that, but she was an avid reader. And I realized that attitude, all of these books had all these eye rolling to their parents and learning as stupid, making fun of the principals and their teachers, and self-centered attitudes, and all about fun and self-centered adventure and thrill. And I just realized, wow, I've got to make a change in our family. And so I started on this really serious journey to study the books beforehand that my children were reading. And I made a list of them, and I told my daughter, you can only read the books that are on the list. She was not happy about that at first, but this was years and years ago, and I cannot tell you what difference it made just through the books that my daughter was reading. It completely changed her character. And she loves these books so much now. When she hated them at first, these are so boring, but we persisted with this good literature. And it got to the point where we were going to a convention together. She was going with me, and she's sitting by me in the airplane. And I wonder what the lady sitting next to us thought, because the whole time she had this book, and she was like, Mom, you've got to look at this. This is the most beautiful description. Listen to this. And she'd read it to me and say, oh, I just love the messages. And the whole time, it was this old, out of print book, and she was just loving it. And I just reflected at that moment on how much her character changed. And so I decided that I was going to publish this book list for other people so that they could have it as well. And so the very beginning of everything was the Good and the Beautiful book list. And then as I was homeschooling my children, I became really overwhelmed, because I would have to, for each different child, I have 5 children, and I would have to get out a different spelling program, and then get out a different phonics program, and a different grammar program, and a different literature program, and teach geography and art, and all separate for every child. And I could not do it. And I also just really wanted this really good literature to be incorporated into their courses, but I couldn't really find a course that incorporated all the kind of literature that I wanted. Or if I could, then it wasn't very academically sound, or it was dry, and so I just could not find it. So I was piecing all of this stuff together, because homeschool wasn't really working very great for us in some ways, and in the curriculum that we were using. And so I just bagged it and started creating my own stuff. And again, I noticed the huge impact when I started to bring in art and combined all of these subjects together and brought in the beautiful literature. My daughter that once was throwing her pencil across the room was now very engaged in what we're doing. And in fact, with her, who thought everything was so stupid, had gotten to the point where you have those moments where you realize this is working and this is what I want, is when we got a book in the mail after, because one of the things that's in the Good and Beautiful curriculum is children study art, and they study the details, and they learn to see the shadows and the lighting and the beauty in the world that God created. And we got a book in the mail, just a reading book, and she looked at it and she was like, Mom, come look at this beautiful picture. She's like, look at the clouds. Look at how many different shades are in the clouds and the color of the sky. And I just realized, like, wow, like I really could mold this child to love things that were good and beautiful through the curriculum that we're using. And so I thought, I want to make this available to other mothers. I had some friends that were homeschooling that were ready to give up. And I was like, just try this curriculum that I created with your kids. And they absolutely loved it. And I thought, I want to make this available. We were really blessed with the unique skills. I have a background. My degree is in English and in writing. And I had published books. I worked as a magazine editor, worked as a technical writer, worked as a teacher and an educator, and had a lot of experience that I was able to utilize along with my passion for good literature and good writing and all of those things. And also because of the music, so as a songwriter, it sold over 1 million CDs. We never wanted to use that money for, our personal gain. We just want to do good with the money that we have. And we thought, what greater way to use this money that we have made through these CD sales than to launch this curriculum. So I got a team of really well-chosen people who not only were very smart and brilliant and wise in their knowledge and their background and their experience, but also people that were on the same page of knowing the importance of literature and understanding how homeschool worked and those kind of things. And I also was homeschooling a neighbor boy who had dyslexia at the time, and so I was dealing with slower reading and things like that, and wanted to create a program that was really strong on reading. One of the things that's very important to me is that academics are very strong, along with all of the beauty and the interest and the meaning and everything that we put in it. I just believe in educating children's minds to be as powerful and strong as they can, so they can do as much good in this world as they can, because they have all the knowledge and the skills that they need. So it was very important to me. So I put a team together of reading specialists and educators and grammarians, and we worked together for a long time, and we released the 2 first levels of our language arts. I compared prices, and things were like $300 or $200, $400 for these phonics programs. And I know that homeschool moms struggle, and I also know that any of these programs that fund and give free curriculum to homeschool moms don't allow that for faith-based curriculum. And I felt like faith-based curriculum was really important to include just God, that He created the world, and scriptures from the Bible about being honest and being kind, and those really basic kind of things I felt like are really, really lacking if they're not in there and connecting and giving meaning to it. And so, but those programs don't pay back for that, so it can get really expensive when you're doing faith-based stuff. So I wanted it to be inexpensive, and I thought, we're just going to charge, I think it was $106, $109 for this full phonics program. Right when I published it, I just had the strongest feeling that this is not a business, even though it wasn't really a business for me. I just had this really strong impression that I had to stay so focused on that this was not a business, that there is a super big need in our world for this, and for things that will teach children, because really I feel like children and families are being attacked with godless materials and materials that are disrespectful, and that this needed to be not a business for me, but needed to be something that would lead children to good literature and to learning that was good and beautiful. And so I immediately, I don't know, within 1 or 2 hours, some of you got that first email where I launched this, and then got the email 2 hours later or something where I said, never mind, it's free. And I had to make that phone call to my husband and explain to him that I had that impression, and after we had spent, I can't even tell you how much money and time and effort and sacrifice into launching this, and we made it free. And I just decided to, I don't want a business. I don't want to ship all this stuff out, and I have people to do all this. And so I said, I just want to be a mom. I'm just going to put it and post it on my website. So that's what I did. And it went crazy. People absolutely loved it, but they were finding that to print it on their own, they're like, this is great that it's free, but it costs a lot of money to print. It's this beautiful color. And I thought, if we print this in bulk, like a lot of them, then we can make this available for people at a lot less price than if they could even get it on their own. So we can sell it for our price for less than they can get it done and make sure it's like good quality and nice. And people wanted that, and I feared that there were people that weren't using it because they're like, oh, it's such a pain. I don't have a printer at home. It's $80, $100 to go get it printed at my print shop, and so it's actually quite expensive, and which we didn't want. So we started releasing it. I remember when that first like pellet of stuff came to my house, and when I had to start putting people on payroll, like I was like, I don't want this, but I want to be able to have this curriculum out there. And long story short, 3 years later, we have over 35 employees on our payroll. Most of those people are shipping stuff out all day. We have a warehouse. We have hundreds of thousands of kids that are using this curriculum. And that is the reason that I started it. The principles behind it are, one, that it is faith-based. And let me just pause here to do a little Q&A on the religious foundation of it, because some people have some questions about that. And I'm really transparent in saying that I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're nicknamed by people Mormons, and I want people to know that, but also know that this curriculum does not contain doctrine that is specific to any specific religious sect. It doesn't have LDS doctrine, LDS specific doctrine that is in here. And believe me, if that ever changed, you would know about it in about 3 seconds, because it would be posted all over social media, because people have looked and looked and people have used it for years, and they're like, yeah, there is no, there's no worries, there's no conflict in here. We are basing this on very basic biblical principles that God exists, that he created the world, that Christ is our savior, honesty, and to recognize the beauty that God created in the things around us, and being kind, and being Christ-like, and choosing good literature, and like those kind of things. I don't personally believe that curriculum should be where you're getting your doctrine, because people interpret things so differently that I don't want to be trying to interpret doctrine for anybody. So there's not doctrine. We don't address the doctrinal issues, and you can address that with your children, and you can add in your beliefs. So it's so basic that it can work for anybody. And by the way, we also do have a whole panel of reviewers that are from all different religions to make sure that the curriculum is non-denominational, that it's not going to have problems for different religions. I will go ahead and talk now about some of the principles that are in here. So one is that we combine things together: phonics, reading, spelling, literature, grammar and punctuation, art appreciation. Instruction starts in level 4. Mainly there's some kind of little art things that they will do in here, but art appreciation, art history is in here. And so we connect it together. And so when you're teaching children to read, you are studying beautiful art, and they're learning how to appreciate the beauty that's within it. And you're talking about this picture, which brings interest in and meaning to the kids, and then you're having them read the different things that go along with it. It's open and go. It says, read to the child. Nature can bring us a lot of joy, especially when we notice things in nature that are beautiful and interesting. And you talk about the picture, and it's nice too, because you can just, you don't have to prepare beforehand. You don't have to read anything beforehand. You don't have to know anything beforehand. So if you're like, I do not remember what a prepositional phrase is, like, that is totally fine. You will learn along with your child, and you're going to have fun exploring with them, because it's supposed to be fun. Like, grammar has this bad rap, and we're trying to change that, right? Because grammar does not have to be dry and a boring worksheet. So, for example, like the first time that you teach children what a noun is, I find it in here, but the first time you teach children what a noun is, you look at this beautiful picture, and you talk about nouns using that picture. And so it is very strong on phonics through levels pre-K through level 3. It's a phonics-based program. You don't need any supplements for it unless your child has some reading struggles. It's designed to be a very strong phonics program. Our language arts programs are just designed to connect learning, bring in good literature, and make it easy for the parent to teach. This was created by a homeschool mom and a whole panel of educators. We hope that this curriculum is a blessing for your family, and that it will help your children to love good literature and to find joy in learning, and that it will make homeschooling less expensive for you and less overwhelming, because I know how hard homeschooling is. I believe that homeschooling can change a child's life, their foundational character, and can form a really incredible mind. And so if homeschooling is what is right for you and what you feel inside, like those little promptings of like, I think that I need to do this, then we want to make that journey joyful for you.